Hey, everybody. Looks like we are live. And this is our Nightworms headquarters. I'm in Nightworms headquarters. Ashley is too in our extended bookcase that goes all the way to her house. We are co-owners of the Nightworms horror subscription company. My name's Mother Horror. I am a reviewer of horror fiction, and Ashley is an infamous leader of true crime book club read-alongs on Instagram. Tim Meyer is here, who has written lots of things, and also Chad Lutzke is here, who has written lots and lots of things as well. And together, they wrote Wormwood. Ashley, do you want to show us the beautiful copy of Wormwood? That is the Nightworms edition of Wormwood that went out in November. I do see the chat is filling up with all of our friends. Just a shout out to Ross Jeffrey and Callie and Justin. Oh, look, we all have it. Let's be Brady Bunch twins.
Yeah. Hardcover.
Wow.
We're so dorky.
Way to show us up, Chad.
Seriously. God,
Do you guys have the Silver Shamrock edition? Because mine's not here yet.
No. Tim does.
I have one, yeah.
He bought one. He's got no patience.
I have to buy it, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, awesome.
It's cool.
Yeah, that's the Keelan Patrick Burke cover and the Silver Shamrock edition with Cass, our protagonist, sitting up there. Let's do a little roundtable intro since mine was so fast.
You kind of like introduced us already. Sorry, that's all about me. I have nothing else to share.
Sorry, Ashley. Spotlight's on you.
I honestly don't have anything to say. I'm sorry.
Tim Meyer, what are you drinking?
I am drinking a Imperial India Pale Ale, which is delicious. It's from Icarus Brewing Company in Lakewood, New Jersey. It's called Drinking Crayons.
Ooh. Does it taste like drinking crayons?
No, it doesn't.
That's good, because that would be gross.
No, it's delicious, though. It's like a very juicy pale ale, so I dig it.
That sounds good, actually. Ashley, what are you drinking? Red Bull. Drink of choice
so
for her.
horrible for you.
I know. I'm going to die.
Yeah, sorry, but true.
But I would like a sponsorship, please.
And Chad, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking nothing.
Wow. I'm drinking coffee out of a mug that Ashley got me. It says, actually, I can.
Nice.
Just that motivation that Mother Horror needs.
That's right. Actually, I can do whatever I want. Okay. Oh, let's say hi to some more friends. I see Janelle and Victoria. Ooh, Michael Clark Books. Chandra. Johnny. Darcy. Sweet.
Did we say hi to John? I saw
Awesome.
John up there.
Thanks
John.
for tuning in, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for being here with us.
Ask us questions.
Yeah, please ask us questions. We will highlight them on the screen, and I'll show you the fancy way we can do that. Look at that. Janelle says, cheers, y'all.
Cheers.
You know?
Cheers, Janelle. So make sure you ask us some questions, but in the meantime, we're going to talk about Wormwood, which came out in our November package. And I was just curious. I was talking to Chad and Tim in the green room before we went live. But I was just curious, like, how was it being... talking to Chad and Tim in the green room. Oh, what just happened?
Sorry.
I hear myself
Someone's
again.
got there.
It's echoing.
But I was just curious, like, how was it being in the Nightworms package? Like, Chad's been in it before, so he probably can speak to that on like a veteran level. But was it cool? Was it fun?
Awesome. Of course. Yes, it's such a blessing, man, because it helps big time the author, and then I see, like, when people leave reviews and Instagram posts, they're always talking about how they never would have seen this book before, got turned on to this book if it wasn't for. So I think doing something like that and focusing on something that's, a little bit more underground and harder to find is really important. 'Cause there's a lot of really good indie authors out there and small press authors. So yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome having String the Sheets in there and Out Behind the Barn, and then of course Wormwood.
Oh,
So,
Ashley's going to show
thank
and
you.
tell.
guys. Yeah.
Awesome. And speaking of John Bowden, really quick, this book came in the package with Wormwood. This is John
Yes.
Bowden's Jedi Summer with the Magnetic Kid, which is a book that John had previously released through a different method, but this is the Thunderstorm edition, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I love it, and I love this story too.
I love that book. Yeah.
Yeah,
fantastic.
so
Yeah,
we're big John Bowden fans.
John should be here. And I just yelled at him too. I laid on the guilt because he said he's going to bed soon. And I said, what time will you ever tune in to when I'm doing something like this? 'Cause
Yeah.
he's always off doing. I said, as much as I drop your name, boy,
What
I
a
think you'd show up.
what a
And
brat.
I was being mean.
Yeah.
but actually, I do have a question. Since we're talking about yelling at people, I want to know when you guys wrote this together, if there were like any major fights between you two.
Tell us.
all the time. Yeah.
I figured it was drama.
Yeah. We hate each other actually now.
No, but like to co-write a book, like that takes a lot of probably patience and like, I don't know, the back and forth. Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so when I came up with the original idea, I kind of pitched it to Chad, and I actually gotten the idea from Chad listening to an interview of him on another podcast, and I just pitched him the idea. He enjoyed it, and we kind of just went to work, traded ideas back and forth for a while before we actually started putting it down on paper, and that's kind of the initial start to it. And then we decided, since our styles are very differently and our voices are very different, that trading chapters back and forth wasn't going to work for us. So we decided to have me write like 3 chapters and then hand it back to him. He would go over it, put his own voice in it, fix it how he wanted to, and then hand it back to me. And then I would go forward and write another 3 chapters. And so like we just did that until it was finished.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had like I wouldn't call it I guess it's an outline. Outline is anything from like 10,000 words or ridiculously long outline to just bullet points. So we had an outline with, kind of a bullet pointed thing. I mean, we didn't always follow it. And then of course we would change things as we went along. But so we kind of like when Tim was writing, he knew that where he was headed, what direction he was headed.
Yeah, it looks like Victoria wants to know if you guys outlined together or if just one of you outlined the story first and the other filled it in.
We had Skype. Go ahead, Tim.
I was going to say the same thing. We just we Skyped a couple times and just threw out all of our ideas together, and then we just kind of we did it together. It wasn't like a separate thing. We pretty much agreed on everything. Like I honestly can't think of a time where like we ever fought. It was like a seamless thing, and I think it's just our personalities kind of match up because Chad kind of knows what he wants, and I'm very easygoing, and I kind of like just go with the flow type of thing. So I think just like our personalities aligned, right? If we were similar, I don't think it would have worked. But the fact that we're a little bit different, it actually worked out very well.
Yeah, if there were 2 of me, it would not have worked. No way.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Ashley.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that. I was gonna say like, do your personalities have to be like opposite, or you have to know each other really well to be able to work together in that way. But I think you guys did a fantastic job because I didn't feel like 2 authors to me. It just all blended together so well. So yeah,
thanks.
Do it again.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and just based on both of your works, like when I first heard that you guys were doing a collaboration, I was like, yes, this is a dream team because, I mean, Tim has like the lockdown on like versatility and just like this supernatural, sometimes cosmic horror, and Chad has that like really authentic, character driven, like emotional horror, and then you just combine those two and it sounded like the perfect. And then when you said coming of age, I was like, my mind was all woo. So I knew I needed this book. Here's a question from Ross. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, yeah, Tim tried to sneak some of that cosmic stuff in there.
Yeah, I tried to, but Chad was having none of it.
Why, Chad? Why?
I didn't want early on. I mean, I asked that we not make it. I just wanted real life stuff like I do. I didn't want to do any kind of supernatural thing. And the initial idea, I guess, could have lent itself to that a little bit, because we had more of a kind of a cult idea that we were toying with. But I just like the realism of it. I just think that's more horrifying, more believable, and it hits harder than something that nobody's ever experienced, that nobody can really relate to. And not to say it wouldn't have been good, but yeah, that was just my personal preference.
Yeah,
I guess.
I think it was the right choice.
Hold on. John Bowden is here.
I was just going to say, I'm going to go back to Ross's question and highlight this.
Bowden spotting.
He must have known we were talking about him.
And I'm sure he's not talking about our hair, Ashley. I'm sure he's talking about his little buddy's hairs.
Oh, I know. It's all about their hair.
I'm so glad you're here, John. We were just talking about you and showing off your book.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. A Magnificent Jedi Summer, which should be on every coming of age list.
I agree for sure. But let's get back to Ross's question. I don't want to overlook that. So, are there any other indie authors who you'd like to team up with if given the chance to co-write a book at some point? And do you enjoy the process of co-writing? Let's go with Tim first.
So to answer the second question first, I really do enjoy the co-writing process. I love collaborating. I feel like collaborating is almost like my preference. I grew up wanting to be a filmmaker, so filmmaking is definitely a collaborative art form. So I was kind of used to that. So I enjoy everything about collaboration. And to who I would collaborate with, probably my pal Hunter Shea. I feel like I would do something cool with him, because we have kind of a similar style, and we like the same weird stuff. So I feel like that would be a cool little collaboration project. I think you're muted.
Me?
Sorry, I was muted.
Sadie's talking.
I was talking to myself. I just wanted to say that, yeah, that would be a cool creature feature between you and Hunter, for sure.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. Chad, what about you?
Yeah, I like to collaborate. It doesn't always work, even if you have like a really good friend that you get along really well with. Sometimes it doesn't work, so then it's not fun. There's been a couple projects that I've started that you could tell early on it probably wasn't going to work. Still friends with those people, love their work, and but it just doesn't always work. So I would suppose if you keep trying to go on, and that's less about writing and more about personality. If your personality types kind of clash, and the reason, going back to what we were talking about earlier with Tim, me being kind of like this alpha, a control freak, I guess. And then Tim just being like, it's cool, man, whatever. That's how it was able to work. So indie authors that I would like to, I don't know. I mean, Hunter Shea would be cool. Yeah, that would be cool. And because that would be interesting, because I don't write creature stuff. And I know that's not all he writes, but he's a good writer. And plus I love the guy. So yeah, that would be interesting though. Maybe that wouldn't work either. I have no idea. I
think it'd be a cool experiment.
Yeah.
There's lots of comments about hair Like,
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
you know,
Yeah.
Callie really wants us to know that she likes all of our hair, and Zach is actually really jealous of Tim's hair.
He's
Lots
gently not jealous.
Lots of hair stuff. Oh, here's a question from John Lynch. I know that each book is different, but did either of you find co-authoring easier than writing solo or more difficult?
That's a good question. I'd say it is different, but I don't know if it's any easier. I guess it's a little bit more difficult because you're just not used to it. Used to writing by yourself. So I would say it's just so different from my natural process that I had to adjust a little bit. But I mean, again, I've done collaborations that didn't work out. This particular collaboration went really smoothly, and we got along great. So it really wasn't too much difficult. It was difficult because of the time we were writing it at like the beginning of the pandemic when I was creatively drained just from everything that was like going on at the time.
Yeah.
So I mean that definitely hurt. And I know Chad felt some of that as well because we had set like a deadline for us, and I think we went like 2 months past it just because of
probably longer than that. I think we set a deadline for like
February or something.
Something like that. We got done in I don't know, was it late summer?
Well, yeah, I mean, with all the drafts and stuff, we got done. But I think we finished the first draft in like, or the close to the final draft in like April or something. So, but yeah, I mean, the process of collaboration is different, and I would say it really depends on who you're collaborating with. Is what would make it more difficult or not. In this case, I thought it went pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it went well.
Yeah. I can't remember the question. Is it more difficult? I think it was just because, and maybe it had more to do with my role in it, because as I said, we had like this outline, and then Tim would write a couple chapters and then send them to me, and then I would go through them and revise them or cut them or rewrite them or whatever. And so if there was something like a paragraph that I thought was really cool that Tim wrote, but I thought would be better used later on or something, or an earlier scene, there was like this on my end, and it was stressing Tim out because I let him take a look at some of it. On my end, it was just like this things everywhere, and he didn't even like looking at it. He's like, "You can give me a panic attack, man," because it was just so chaotic. And so if I would rewrite something, and then I'd be like, yeah, but Tim wrote that really cool paragraph, and so when I put that here, so it was like this piecing things together rather than just kind of go. And I still do that a little bit when I write anyway. You know, if sometimes I'll get like a third of the way through the book. I did it with a Foster Homes and Flies and with Skullface Boy. I get like a third of the way through the book. I come up with this great ending, just like the last paragraph or two. I write it, and then I go back and I finish the rest of the book. And usually that last paragraph doesn't change at all. And so I do that a little bit, but this was even more so, which made it a little bit more like convoluted, I guess. But then again, I had to, I mean, I don't know. It's some parts of it are easier and just a lot of fun because you're hanging out with somebody and you're working together on something and you get to talk about it. So that part of it's cool too.
Yeah, that does sound cool. Two heads are better than one.
Yeah. Yeah, you get to like bounce ideas off of each other and use each other as like a soundboard, which is cool because you don't. I mean, I'm sure some writers, you know, have like a small circle of other writer friends where they kind of like bounce ideas off of, but I typically don't. I usually just do everything on my own. So it's definitely cool to just have somebody to chat with on a daily basis about something you're working on together. It's cool.
I mean, that makes sense for me and Ashley too. I mean, if I had to run Nightworms by myself, like I would hate life.
Yeah.
it would not be as exciting. She has different skill sets that complement the business side of things and that I don't have. And then, you know, we just have different strengths and weaknesses.
And you
then
guys get to bitch to each other when
exactly.
something goes wrong.
Yeah, I mean, we were doing that right before you guys showed up. So I love this question that Janelle asked, actually, because I know a little bit about it. But she said, how did you guys come up with the cover art? Whose speaker is that? Is that mine?
I don't know.
Oh, it's Chad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, everyone.
Technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties.
Oh, there.
That's
You
good.
had it. There you go. Oh, it's gone again.
It's gone?
I
You're
hear
better.
you fine.
Yeah, you're better
Okay.
now.
Yeah, if something happens, let me know. Sometimes I
Okay.
get weird static in my mic cord or something.
Okay. Yeah, so how did you guys come up with the cover art for the Nightworms edition?
That was mostly Chad's doing. I think he pretty much arranged the
Underwear boy.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
I had to censor my Instagram photo. Remember?
Yeah.
I don't
And
remember hiding the bulge.
Yeah, you had to censor it.
I don't remember exactly like the genesis, if it was just something that I came up with or if it was based on a conversation we had or if we had any other ideas that we were toying with. I can't remember, but I did a painting, a really crappy watercolor painting that I just hurried up and whipped out, and no pun intended.
Say something. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm being mature right now.
But it looked just like that, but horrible. I think I posted it on my Patreon page, and it's just like, but it's the same like heavy green hue with the trees, and then the main tree in the middle with the kid tied to it, and then in his underwear, and then I put it in Photoshop and I threw just any font on there. I didn't know that was the font that they were going to use. I just grabbed like the first one that and put it on there. And then they just ended up using it. But I gave it to Zach McCain. And when I work with Zach, he's done, he did Tim's Kill Hill Carnage, great cover. He did Out Behind the Barn.
Good job, actually.
I'm prepared.
He is prepared. He did Out Behind the Barn, Same Deep Water as You, and the Pale White, Halo of Flies, and the Bloodletter, the thing I'm doing now. And there's another one that I'm missing. But anyway, he's done several of them for me. And when I work with Zach, it's always like, I don't know what it's like when he usually works with someone, but I guess maybe it's because I'm an artist, but I don't have the patience and I don't have the know-how to do a lot of this like digital stuff that, I mean, I know Zach paints, but I think he also does some digital stuff too. So when I give him a concept, I'm really, really specific about lighting and shading and colors and hues and placement and composition. And he either hates me for it or it helps him. I have no idea, because he probably hates me for it because then it restricts some of his, the artistic, being able to just let loose. Because I know that when I've done commission work, if they're specific, it is kind of more of a drag. So sorry, Zach, but he's amazing, and I will continue to use him for future stuff.
He definitely hates you.
Oh, the truth comes out.
I'm the exact opposite. Like I don't give my cover artists any direction.
Put a
I'm just
monster
like,
on here.
yeah, just do it. I'll love it. And I've been pretty lucky because I actually like all my cover art. So
yeah, you have great cover art. In fact, one of my favorites is for 69. Like I don't know why, but it just the way that the bush is all trimmed out into the numbers, and just this is like, I don't know, eerie feeling about that cover.
The skulls in there too, like the hidden skulls. Yeah, Token did that. James.
I've used him too.
Yeah, he's great. He did the the Hall Dark anthology that just came out.
Oh, I
Yeah.
just saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
He's a great artist. He paints with like a I don't know, Chad, you probably know more about it than
It's
I
either
would.
acrylic or oil, I'm sure.
I think it's oil, and
Mhm.
just the detail that he puts in there is insane.
Yeah.
Here's another question from Ross that I think is interesting. Tough question, but which of your books is your favorite? And for everyone, what are you currently reading? I need those recs.
Tim, okay. My favorite is different than the one that I would point someone to, because I get asked this question a lot. Usually, like my gateway thing is like a Foster Home in Flies or maybe Stirring the Sheets. But my favorite is either The Same Deep Water as You or Skullface Boy. They were the most fun to write. Same Deep Water as You is like 95% autobiographical. It's just a year of my life. I added a little bit more drama to some of the things in there, but for the most part, thanks, Ashley.
Oh, ouch.
But for the most part, yeah, that was just a ton of fun to write, and I wrote it in like 10 days, which is, I don't usually write that fast. And then Skullface Boy, just because I could have made Skullface Boy 4 times as long. It was just, there was really no end in sight, but I didn't want to overstay my welcome. So, but I like both of those the most.
For me, it would probably have to be The Switch House. I love that story and pretty much everything about it, from its the idea, how I got the idea, and how it ended up. And yeah, I love that story. And also Limbs, I think, too, because I feel like that's like an under the radar one that nobody really talks about, and it's more comedic than it is like horror. But I also love that story as well. So that would be mine.
I always recommend of Foster Homes and Flies. I always recommend the first read that I had, the first experience that I had with an author. So that was my first of Chad's.
Mhm.
And then Switch House was my first of Tim's. And I fell in love with both of those books. And those are the ones I always recommend. And then people always seem to love those too. Like I've never had anybody like not go on and read more of your guys' work after those two. So those are the ones I recommend.
I think the length is perfect too, because like the novella length is like a good like introduction for an author.
Mm-hmm.
Ashley, what are you currently reading?
Well, I'm reading Secret Santa as my physical book, but I want to talk about what I'm reading on my Kindle right now, which is Hexus. Have any of you read it?
No, but I have it. Mm-hmm. I have it.
Okay. It's like, am I dumb? That's what I feel like when I'm reading.
Am I dumb?
I just have so many questions. Like I was already like halfway writing my review in my head, and I'm like, you know how when you're talking to someone who's way smarter than you, and like you're smiling and nodding, but you really don't know what's happening? That's kind of how I feel right now. Like I like it, but I'm like, am I missing some huge part of this because my brain's too little?
Yeah, that's how I feel when I read most poetry. Like I start reading the poetry and I'm like, yeah, I start thinking I'm not geared for this and I'm dumb.
No, but it's really good. Like I would love for you all to read it so I could just get more like, what did you think about it? Because it's just, there's so much to it. And I don't know if there's going to be a sequel or what, but I know the author has a new book coming out soonish from Clash. So.
Well, I'll read it soon.
Yeah, you should.
Okay. I found a question up here, but now I can't find it. Oh, here. It's from Andrew. Is there any music that you guys think will complement the book? I want to get in the right mindset when I read it.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a cool question.
That is cool. So I actually listen to music while I write. And I believe during this, I listened to like a lot of like sludgy rock, like stoner metal. I guess is what you call it. Like just I put on a Spotify playlist. I think it was like Stoner Rock, and I just listened to that the entire time writing it. So
bunch of like bands like Sleep and Fudge Tunnel.
it's like
Fudge what?
Fudge Tunnel.
Gross.
that's an amazing band name. It's weird. Like that's not something I don't really listen to typically. But I'm pretty sure while I was listening to that while I was writing it, and also like 90s grunge, like Nirvana and stuff like that too. I feel like might fit this.
I think
I
that
can't
was
remember, but what year is it in the book? Is it current day?
yeah, it's
it's current.
because there's a
They use
cell
cell
phone in there.
phones and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
I like that the cell phones weren't like a huge predominant part of it though.
Oh, I hate that. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
It's just like texting stuff and yeah.
I think I don't. I think the only thing I really remember listening to while writing the book was Summer of '84 soundtrack. It's like synthwave stuff.
The movie.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
soundtrack is great. I love synthwave. I don't like all of it. But I really like that soundtrack. As a matter of fact, I clearly have listened to it a lot because when I checked on my Spotify thing today at the most listened to songs of 2020, that soundtrack was the number one thing that I listened to.
Nice.
So
I just wanted to talk about really quick too. This is a good segue into this conversation, but so Tim and Chad, like, we're not allowed to talk about a certain thing. So I'm just going to say we're not allowed to talk about a certain thing having to do with Wormwood. But I do end up talking to Chad and Tim quite a bit, and they've recommended to me a movie that they feel is kind of within the same scope and tone of Wormwood, which is called Certain Dark Things or Super Dark
Times.
Super Dark Times. I watched it on Netflix with my husband and it destroyed me. Like,
really?
I mean, in the same way that Wormwood gave me like lots of mom anxiety because the protagonists are young kids and they're getting involved in things that they shouldn't be. And it's very like dangerous and tumultuous. And, like as a mom of young boys, like just the kids are out doing things that is potentially harmful and psychologically damaging. That movie has, yes, definitely the same tone, but I mean, the anxiety level was extreme for me. Like I don't know if anybody has seen that movie, but I want to know what it is about Wormwood that you feel taps that same vein for people. Like what were you trying to trying to infuse that kind of anxiety and that kind of like cautionary tale into Wormwood? Was that part of your motivation for the story?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I think it was Tim's idea to do the countdown. And then I just like the idea. It was important to me to kind of have the, I don't want to spoil anything, to have like what Cass does and how inappropriate she gets, to have it continually escalate so that every time she's in a scene, you're like, now what? What is she going to do now?
Yeah, I can't say anything. I'm just going to ruin it for everyone, but go read Wormwood right now so we
can talk about how much anxiety we have for all the characters involved.
Yeah, I think it's funny that the countdown, I think, was just like almost a temporary like placeholder so we could keep track, because we actually wrote the ending of the book first, like that whole like end scene.
Sort of. And then we rewrote it.
We rewrote it, but we had the idea for that scene kind of first. That was almost like the idea that sparked the entire novel. So we had that, and then we had to go back to the beginning and show everything leading up into that scene. So we had to like get the days down pat, and then like when we read through it, we're like, wow, this really adds to the tension of the book, this countdown, because like the reader knows something is going to happen.
Yeah.
And probably not good.
Yeah, that was really effective.
So yeah, it actually worked out really well.
Yeah, really effective. There's a question. Oh, go ahead,
movies
Chad.
like Super Dark Times that I get more influence from films like that, and like River's Edge and I don't know, Mean Creek and Kids, and just really dark,
Good.
like coming. Yeah, that was a little too dark, but
Yeah, that was
like
really dark.
coming of age, like indie drama, dark indie dramas. I get more inspiration from those than I do like books.
Yeah, and they are just like, I feel like when we watch, like a lot of us are parents, and so I feel like a lot of us, come at it from that perspective, but also for us who are still like in tune with our childhood and our young adult life, like it's super easy to relate to books that deal with young protagonists. That's why I enjoy those reads so much.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of twofold, like you're coming at it from the perspective of having children, but also as having been a child.
Yeah.
And such a weird time too, like that young adult, because there's so much going on. Like your bodies are changing, you get new emotions, new things are happening, you're experiencing things for the first time. You're experiencing adult stuff, but you're still a kid. So it's like this awkward phase that kind of creates a lot of drama in your life. And I think that's another reason why I think people like the coming of age stuff, because there's just so much to do with that period of your life.
Yeah, agreed. Really quick, there's a good question in here too. It was way back, so I don't want to forget it. But this one says, who are your favorite authors? And also, like, are they inspiring to you in what you write?
Jack Ketchum and Joe Lansdale, and they're absolutely I mean, everything I write is kind of, I'm not trying to copy them. It's just I never even discovered either of those authors that much until I had already started writing. And then I realized that, like Ketchum, he doesn't write supernatural stuff. Once in a while, he does. And once in a while I do too, but not books, just short stories. And I realized that we had a lot in common like that. I mean, he was a far greater author than I'll ever be, but I noticed that some similarities. And the same with Lansdale, and just the idea of when I first started writing, never wanting to be put into a box. And if I wanted to write some funny, quirky crime noir thing, and then I wanted to write some dark thing, and then if I wanted to write some splattery short story that I didn't want to be, like this is what Lutzke writes. He writes like the haunted house stories, or, I just didn't want to do any of that. And I know I like when authors can get away with doing stuff like that. And Joe Lansdale certainly has, and Stephen King has too. But he's never going to be able to get away from the whole horror author. But where Lansdale, Westerns and crime, and then just super gory stuff like The Drive-In, almost like bizarro stuff. And that's what I wanted to do. So those two guys are definitely my favorites, and Poe and King too.
Yeah.
My big three are King, Robert McCammon, and Clive Barker. Like those three really influenced me early on. And then like later was like Brian Keene stuff and Ronald Malfi's writings. I think his books are phenomenal, and those were huge influence. But also what Chad said with Lansdale and just being able to like genre hop, I love that idea too. Like I don't like necessarily doing all horror. Like I love horror. It's kind of like it's hard to get away from it because I love it so much.
Yeah.
But I do try to like incorporate other things in it, like comedic stuff, like with Limbs, like I mentioned earlier, or like science fiction stuff, like 69 kind of borders on like sci-fi. So yeah, I mean those are probably my biggest influences.
Yeah, I think that's evident in both of your guys' work. I mean, if you think about it too, when people say, you know, what's your favorite Stephen King book or what's your favorite McCammon book, like so many people choose like Boy's Life,
Yeah.
you know, you know, even though like Robert McCammon has so many horror works under his belt, they always choose Boy's Life. And then for like Stephen King, you know, like one of my favorites is The Eyes of the Green Dragon, which he wrote for his kids, you know,
That's one of
and
my
I
favorites
love
too.
that book.
Nobody talks about it. Yeah.
Oh, I've read that book it's so worn out just because so many times it's like a fairy tale, you know, and written by the greatest horror author. It's great. Zach has a quick question here. How has COVID and the world in general in 2020 affected your writing and writing process? Have you been more or less productive, and are you seeing things a different way?
Yeah, so we kind of touched on that earlier when we were talking about Wormwood, how we had started writing it at like the beginning of the pandemic and how that kind of had a negative effect on our process, and it definitely slowed us down. But I think once that wore off, we got into a groove, and we started writing more. I know personally, since then I've been able to be more productive. I wrote I wrote basically 3 novels this year during the pandemic. So I mean, it hasn't really, it hasn't really slowed anything down. So in fact, things have kind of worked out better for me personally during the pandemic. I'm home now all the time from my day job, so I can write a lot more. I have so much time to write, which definitely helps out. But yeah, I mean, and as far as seeing things a different way, yeah, things have definitely been different this year, and I definitely have, you know, new perspective on society in general, which may or may not eventually make its way into the fiction. So, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was hard for me at first. I think to be, plus at the time I think I was overwhelmed with a bunch of deadlines coming up, and then Tim started to get really productive, and which put more pressure on me as far as like Wormwood, which put more pressure on me to try to the book would have been out even sooner if it but I was having a hard time sitting down and putting ass to chair and writing. So yeah, it killed my production for a little while, for sure. I mean, just the same, I think, with everybody. I mean, I'm sure there's some outliers who it really fed their creativity and maybe even boosted. But I think for the most part, everyone was really bummed out and like, how long is this going to go on? And, you know, this sucks. I can't go anywhere. So, but yeah, then it picked up.
Yeah. Ashley, I think this is for us, this question. Shouldn't we be 6 feet apart? We're not in the same house.
I think it's trolling us, guys.
Hi, troll. Here's another question. Oh, wait. Hi, Wayne. Wayne Fenlon.
Hey, Wayne.
Isn't he in the UK? Thanks for staying up with us.
He's in Scotland, I think.
Aw. Well, he wants to know any plans to work on something else together, or you can talk about your separate works too that you're working on.
We don't have any plans right now to work on anything else together.
But what are you working on right now?
I'm working on a book with John Bowden called Trailer Park Coven. And it's going to be as dumb as it sounds.
I thought it had a different title too.
It's going to be really silly. If you take maybe one of the books that him and Bob Ford did, like Cattywampus or Rattlesnake Kisses, and you mix that with the Neon Owl, then yeah, that's Trailer Park Coven. And
that'll be awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
And then I am working on my first historical fiction thing that it will be a full-length novel. So That might take some while though.
And Tim, what are you working on?
I'm working on a few different things. Like I said earlier, I wrote 3 novels this year. So they're all in like the end of the first draft stage. So I'll probably spend most of next year cleaning them up. And I just finished with the edits on Malignant Summer, which is coming out summer or June of 2021 from Silver Shamrock Publishing. And really excited about that novel. It's a huge coming of age novel. It's just under 200,000 words. So it's a big one, and I'm pretty proud of it. It's takes place in a fictional version of my hometown in New Jersey, Toms River, in the 90s, where a chemical plant was actually dumping chemicals into the ground, and a lot of kids got sick from and got cancer, and just really terrible stuff that happened. So I thought that would be like a cool background for a horror novel, a supernatural horror novel.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
Yes, very happy stuff. So yeah, that's coming out next year, and I am super excited for it. So also have Paradise Club coming out in a couple
That's
months.
right.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
How interesting.
I really want it. There was a question up there, I think from Callie, who was asking about books that made you cry in the horror genre.
Oh, I know where Sally on.
I don't know where.
Just go ahead and ask it.
It was pretty much, I think she said, what book ripped your heart out, made you cry in the horror genre?
Aw. Do we all get to answer?
I don't think I've ever cried
Chad.
reading a book before.
Yes,
Hey,
Chad,
hang on. I cry all the time when I'm watching TV or movies. I just cried the other night. Well, I can't remember what I was watching. I'm not. When I say cry, I mean like tear up and where I need to wipe my face. I don't ugly cry, but the season finale or the whole finale of 6 Feet Under, I think I'm nearly ugly cried.
Yeah.
Don't even want to think about it right now.
Yeah.
But the no, yeah. So TV and stuff does that. Books don't really. I don't think I've ever cried. Actually, you know what? I think I did tear up a little bit when I read Real Yours, Westlake Soul.
Yes, oh my God. That book destroyed me. Like, I died a little death after reading that.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever cried.
Ew, who are you?
I know, right? Monster.
When my wife and I are laying in bed watching something, it will be the most horrific, sad thing. And I will have where my ears feel like they're way out here because they're so bubbled and the tears haven't fallen yet.
Yeah.
And I look over to her and she's just watching, and then we'll be done and I'll wipe my face and I'll be like, man, did you cry? And she's like, no.
Oh.
She's just, sorry, Tim, go ahead.
No worries. Yeah, I can't think of a horror novel that made me cry. I did get emotional at the end of Boy's Life, though, for some reason.
For some reason.
That one definitely, yeah. That one hit me in the feels, as the kids say nowadays.
There were 3 times in that book where my husband came over and was like, "What's wrong? What happened to you?"
And I've read that book 3 times, and it does it to me every single time. Like, I know what's happening. It's just the way he writes, like that. Just, oh God, so good.
There's actually a scene in Stephen King's book, Dr. Sleep. It's the chapter called Baseball Boy, where I had almost a panic attack, and I was in bed reading that book, and it was an emotional, my chest was hitching kind of thing where I was actually angry at Stephen King and also sobbing at the same time. And my husband woke up and was like, what is wrong? Did someone die? I was like,
Sort of.
yes, someone died. It was terrible.
I will say Bag of Bones is pretty emotional too.
Yeah, that one is really emotional.
That one's a good one for if you want a good cry.
My wife did cry during Boy's Life. I just remembered. But yeah, so.
Well, the comments are full of people who cried over books because we're not robots.
I think with books, it's like if I feel that emotional part coming, I'll just close it and be like, "You're not getting me, not today."
I'm out.
There's that book Betty. Like people keep talking about that. I'm gonna have to get in on that.
Yeah, you need to read The Summer That Melted Everything. I
Yes,
gave it to
that
you,
too.
so no
Sorry.
excuses.
This McCarthy's The Road, that
I've heard
movie,
that.
I walked out of that. It was too emotional for
It's
me.
such a-
I will never read that book.
It's so bleak.
Yeah.
Oh, it's rough. It's a rough read.
That is terrible.
Also,
I
have
love it though.
any of you guys read Tender as the Flesh?
It's on my Kindle.
I actually read the first chapter like yesterday.
Okay, yeah, that one.
Who wrote that?
It's translated from an Argentinian. Yeah.
Yeah.
Augustina
Yeah.
Bazterica. I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, but that's what
It's
it
a
looks
really,
like.
really cool concept. I'm into it.
I am too. Hey, you guys, we have like 10 minutes left. So
10 minutes.
I wanted to make sure that we gave you guys an opportunity to talk about anything new you have releasing like really soon. I know, Tim, you talked about Paradise Club, but we don't want to talk about that too much because plans. But also, Chad, what do you have coming out soon?
I have a series that I'm doing called the Hamato Pages, and just as a kind of disclaimer, and I have a short paragraph in the beginning of the book that I'm proud of the book, and it's my voice, but the theme is not something that I normally do, and if regular readers don't enjoy it, I understand. This is kind of for a different audience, so if you know somebody, it's a vigilante vampire thing, and it has a little bit of romance. This is not Twilight or anything. There's gore and stuff in it. But it has a female protagonist, and I think it's not YA because of the age of the protagonist, but it could almost be considered that, I guess, despite some sex and language in it. But yeah, I that's coming out January 1st.
What's that called again, Chad?
Bloodletter. The series in itself is called the Hamato Pages.
Okay.
And the first book is called Bloodletter. Zach McCain did the artwork. I've shared it once or twice before, but yeah, so
is this the one that you've been serially releasing on your Patreon too?
Yeah, well, I did the Neon Owl with that, like last year or whatever, did that. But then yeah, I have been posting, I posted it on Patreon in like 3 or 4 chapters at a time.
Yeah.
And then yeah, so I found that my I had some beta readers. 2 of them were men who were really familiar with my stuff. The rest of them were women who were not familiar with my stuff. The women all loved the book. One, I wasn't sure if they liked it or not, but the men didn't like the book that much. And I don't know. So I don't know if it's because it's more for women. I don't know if it's because they were familiar with my stuff and they were expecting something completely different and had expectations. So I don't know. You're going to have to gamble with your money, I guess.
John Bowden wants us to know he had to eat dinner. Sorry.
Thanks for sticking around, John.
I think it sounds awesome, Chad. I mean, like speaking to the whole, like, not being locked into a certain genre, I think it's cool to like explore different voices and tap into other wheelhouses for different audiences. I think that's something that authors do already, experimentally on the market under like pseudonyms and stuff too. So
yeah, I mean, it's written under a pseudonym, lightly. I mean, it's written under C.E. Lutzke rather than Chad Lutzke, just to right up front say, this is something different. But I lack like I said, it's written well. I enjoy it, but I guess I lack confidence in releasing it because it's so different than anything else. And it's more of a mainstream idea rather than, it's hard to get something like A Frost Drums and Flies noticed because people are not on Amazon typing, books about dead moms and spelling bees, but people are on Amazon typing, vampire stuff, so it's my way of trying to get a wider readership, but still have my voice in there. It's just the theme is different for me. I usually try and stick with something as original as I can, and vampires does not fall within that for me. But so
Joe Lansdale wouldn't do that. He wouldn't use a fake name. Just saying.
Don't do that to me.
That one.
Just kidding, Chad. You know I love you.
Yes, we all love you, Chad.
He might use J.R. Lansdale though. You know?
He might.
Also, I think before we go, Ross did ask us for our current read, or we could also just say like what our favorite book of 2020 was, if you guys want to.
Sure.
I mean, it's hard to pick like a favorite, but if you had to like, if somebody was drilling bamboo shoots under your fingernails and you had to pick one like fast, which one would you pick?
Gross.
I mean, if someone was doing that, I'd probably just enjoy it because I'm weird like that.
Ew.
So I wouldn't answer right away. But
Gross.
I'm just kidding. My favorite book this year has to be The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. That book was phenomenal.
Yes.
Blew me away.
Yes.
And like the guy writes awesome literary slasher novels, and this is just, it's so good.
It's so good. I agree.
Which book did you say?
The only good
Indians.
Okay, yeah. Oh, I love Stephen Graham Jones.
Yeah,
I love him too.
He's a treasure.
I just posted my top 5, and I didn't have any order, but I on the top 5 were Hunter Shades / Stephen King's It, The Best of Joe Lansdale, A Girl in My Room by Jack Ketchum, and I can't remember what the other one was.
For this year?
Yeah, this last year, not released this year. I don't do that. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm at the tail end of It. I've never read it before.
That's amazing. I love that you. That's I think I've read it 3 times.
Oh, how can you read that 3
Same.
times?
Because it's amazing.
It's amazing, dude.
Yeah.
It's so
man.
good.
It's like the pinnacle of coming of age. If coming of age is your favorite, that's the thing.
It is, and he's a great writer. But man, there's about 300, 400 pages in there that I could have done.
Chad.
But it's so good.
So good.
It's so good.
It's so
And
good.
get yourself the Steven Weber narrated audio.
Dude, I have that too, and that's
and
the
you'll
best.
love it.
That's the best maybe audiobook I've ever heard. I'm reading it, but I
so
have
good.
heard. I listened to that for a few hours first.
Dude, he nails it.
Yeah.
Kills it.
Ashley, what's your favorite book? Go.
Gone to See the Riverman by Christopher Triana. That one.
Oh,
I just finished that.
I love that book.
Did you like it?
I did like it. Yeah, it was very good.
Yeah, it was very
Just off
good.
the top of my head, like if I have to choose one, I'll go with that. But I've read so many good books this year.
Yeah, so many. There's too many to pick. Chad, you just said yours, right? But
Yeah.
you forgot one.
I
Okay.
get 5.
It's on
Yeah.
you, Sadie. What's your favorite read?
Okay.
Only one.
Besides Wormwood, because we all know that was probably.
Chad said 4. Why is that not? That's not fair.
And I'll say
Keep our
5 if I
guest
can
of
think of the
honor.
other one.
Okay, besides Wormwood, obviously, I'm gonna have, and because Tim stole mine, I will also say Ring Shout by P. Djeli Clark. It's a novella. It's short. You can read it before the end of the year if you want to, but it has to be a movie like ASAP, and it lives in my brain still. Like I think about it on a daily basis. So I'm gonna go with that one. Dark fantasy, horror, racial tension, all of it. Female protagonist, LGBTQ representation, like it's got the whole package. And then I also like some Max Booth titles from this year. I liked Mexican Gothic a whole hell of a lot.
That was great.
Okay, I won't say anymore.
Throw it away. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
No, I'll have a best of list later after
I know you can't tell everyone all your secrets.
Yeah,
just
I
yet.
have to marinate on it a little bit.
Magic by William Goldman. That was the 5th one.
Magic. Was that the movie? Was that the movie that they made with Anthony Hopkins in that movie? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. I'll have to add that.
With the creepy ventriloquist dummy.
Yeah.
Oh, John Bowden has more to say. Burner was Belter?
Was a belter.
was a
Belter.
belter. Sorry, Deaf in the Running for
That's
best.
Bob
Animated
Ford's new one.
Feature. That's
Yeah.
Bob Ford's. Yeah, that's
Speaking
right.
of Bob Ford, A Penny for Your Thoughts was easily one of the best books I read this year too.
Yes. Oh, Janelle says yes to Ring Shout. Haha.
She said yes to mine too, so I'll
Yeah, here she said it. There. Happy now.
yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Janelle.
So 55 seconds. No,
We're done.
we're done. I just want to thank Chad and Tim for hanging out with us. I want to thank
Thank you
Ashley
guys.
for being brave and
Yes.
doing this chat with us. She must
Ashley,
do
it was
more.
nice seeing you.
She
She
must
did
do
great.
more.
She did great. I think we
She
should
did.
all
Yeah.
applaud her.
Yay. Everyone
Great.
applaud Ashley in the comments too. Make her do more. Wormwood is now out from Silver Shamrock. You can go get your copy. You can't get this copy because this one's signed, y'all. Woohoo! And the hardbacks are out. I saw somebody asking about it and saying that they sold out in 30 minutes on Thunderstorm. That's just the popularity of the game, my friends. You snooze, you lose. Chad, did you want to say anything else?
Really mean.
No,
Tim?
just thanks. And it was just nice seeing Ashley. I was pressuring to
Not me.
get on here because but I see you all the time.
Yeah,
because of secrets.
because it's secret.
But
Secret
Ashley,
meetings.
she's this Nightworms thing is so huge, and she's the other half of this. And I was like, I wanted to see her in the spotlight.
I know. I get to see her cute face all the time to myself.
This whole thing.
Also, Tim, and Chad hair contest really quick. Whose is longer?
Oh,
Mine's
Chad's
much
is way longer.
I know, Chad. Can you sit on yours at this point?
Pretty much. I could when I had dreads. But
What a
it
weird
was
question.
even longer.
Shut up, Ashley.
Yeah, it's very, very long.
Oh, look, I have a fan, Daniel.
Oh, let's put him.
Daniel.
Is it this? Aw, Ashley's
Aw.
fun on Twitter. Everyone follow Ashley on Twitter.
Do it.
Okay, let's wrap this thing up. Thanks everybody for joining us.
Yes, thanks for all the
Thank
questions
you.
and for hanging out.
Thanks
and
for
watching.
questions, hanging
Absolutely.
out, staying up late for some of you.
Yeah,
Okay.
Ross and
Thanks for commenting on our hair.
Wayne. Yeah.
Wayne. Okay, we're gonna end it. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.